primary destination, nerdralbus.com, for anything movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. I'm super excited to be here today. I love being invited back to news panels, but I'm super excited for today. Are y'all excited for this upcoming panel? Y'all truly need to get ready to welcome an absolute legend. He's taken us on epic journeys across the galaxy, far, far away. Wielded lightsabers like a true Jedi master, even faced off against the terrifying Overlook Hotel. From bringing to life the incredible and unforgettable characters like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Christopher Robin, and the Black Mask. And he also embarks on thrilling motorcycle adventures around the world. He's done it all. For this next line, I feel like I have to just come down here. I definitely want to have a grand entrance. I am indeed going to give our guests the high ground as I'm down here. And welcome to the one and only Ewan McGregor.
Hello there.
Amazing. It's truly great to have you here. Welcome to Texas. As a fellow Texan, it's great to have you here. As a fellow Star Wars fan, how many Star Wars fans we have here? One or two. But it's awesome to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. I love coming to Texas. I've been to Texas many times, and I was here at this Comic-Con 2 years ago, and I had such a great time. I'm happy to be back. It's lovely to meet you all.
So obviously there's a lot of iconic lines already, you know, part of the Star Wars universe. You have a couple of them, obviously the high ground, hello there. And they become memes over the years though. Do you find it funny about those moments taking to life on its own online? And have you seen anything creative based on your own lines, like having the high ground and hello there?
Yeah, when we made the first film, there weren't memes, you know, there weren't, I'm trying to remember if there were even cell phones at that point. Maybe, but if there were, only just, you know. So there weren't any memes, and when we said all those lines back then, I couldn't have imagined that they would become what they have become. I mean, it's not a day that goes by in my life when someone doesn't hello there me, you know. Or General Kenobi me, you know. But I love it. I'm always very happy to hear it, and yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You don't know which obviously what the lines are going to be that sort of land with people and become famous lines.
They're going to live on forever thanks to the internet.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Well, also, we all here have to congratulate you on the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
It was a funny event. I didn't know what to make of it. Because I hadn't spent a lot of time thinking about that star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but then they said that they wanted to give me one, and that was very nice. I got all my family down there, which was the best thing, except for my daughter Esther, who was shooting. She's now acting, and she was making a series in Canada, so she wasn't able to join us. But other than that, all my kids were there, and my wife Mary, and and a lot of my friends. It was a lovely day, and it's weird seeing it. You know, they sort of reveal it for you. It's covered during the ceremony and all the speeches and what have you. And Hayden came and made a lovely speech on my behalf, which was very, very nice of him to do so. Very lovely. And my friend Mike Mills. But at the end, they sort of reveal it, and you're looking down, and then you see your name down there. And then suddenly you're like, oh my God. That's kind of a moment, you know, because you're familiar with that image. It's nice.
When did you realize you were right next to Carrie Fisher?
Well, he mentioned it in his...
Yeah, let's hear it for Carrie Fisher. Yeah.
I was lucky to know her to know her and consider her a friend, and she made me laugh so much. So when during his introduction, he told me that I was going to be very close to Carrie Fisher's star, and it wasn't until afterwards, when they sort of moved everything, that I could see I was just right next to her. And so that was lovely, it meant a lot to me.
Yeah, that's very beautiful, and it's going to be there forever. That's what's so great about the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You've portrayed such a wide range of characters, from heroes to villains. I personally want to know, like, what do you look for in a role when deciding which projects you take on?
I don't have any. I mean, I've been so lucky to work on all different kinds of things, on stage, on television, in the movies, and yes.
Excitement here, tons of excitement.
I'm trying to answer a question up here, please. So I've been lucky, and I don't, and because of that, because I'm not like, I've never sort of been pigeonholed, and also nowadays, it's all open. It used to be a bit more. There was the films and then television, and it's different. It's all very different now. So I just look for something that my gut instinct tells me I want to do. There's no sort of checklist. I mean, sometimes it can be dependent. If you get sent a script from a director that you really admire, or it involves another actor that you really admire, that can have an influence on. But usually it's just my. If you're reading a really good book and you don't want it to end, if you feel like that when you're reading a script and you start imagining yourself in the role as you're reading it, then that's a good sign.
A lot of your roles, you do different dialects and different accents. What's the trick of kind of nailing it down? How much really practice and training goes behind just kind of nailing those accents and dialects?
It depends what it is.
Is it hard?
It can be. I mean, American accent, I've been doing American accents for a long time, and I always try and be sort of somewhat specific about, where the accent's coming from, and that helps to sort of focus in on a place as opposed to sort of generalize. Fargo was the hardest. Like that Minnesotan accent is really hard, because for a British person, it sounds like. For me, it just sounded like I was doing a sort of bad Irish accent. So if it felt like bad Irish, I was right in the pocket.
When can we get you in a Western to do a Texan accent? We need to get you involved in
I'd love to. I did get I played the baddie in a cowboy film called Jane Got a Gun, but it wasn't much seen by anybody, and it's a shame, because I really always wanted to be a baddie in a cowboy film, and I feel like that might have been my one chance, like 8 people saw it.
You saw the howdies and the y'alls we say down here?
Yeah. No, I love it. No, I'd love to do it. I'm trying to think if I did Southern in Big Fish. I did play the sort of Southern accent there. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, it's great.
We're obviously here at Spacecon. Star Wars is obviously a big thing here, right? Star Wars people, come on. I want to go back to your early younger days, about when you were first introduced to Star Wars, when they first came out, and then when you walked on set, when you got cast. How did that feel, that surreal moment, be like, this is something maybe I grew up with watching, and now I'm going to be a part of it, and just how surreal that was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was born in '71, and I think the first Star Wars film came out in '77. So I would have been 6 years old. So I was right. I was absolutely the right age to have it sort of change my life, I suppose. I remember going to the cinema to see it with my brother because my uncle Dennis was in it. Dennis Lawson, who plays Wedge and Tilly's. Yes. And in the original film, when they're approaching the Death Star, my uncle's the one that says, "Look at the size of that thing." That's my uncle Dan. And so we went to see, for me and Colin, my brother, it was just, we were going to go to see my uncle in a movie, and that was, I'd seen him a few times on television. I'd seen him on the stage a couple of times, but I'd never seen him in a film. So we picked up after school. Me and my brother were standing there outside the school. My mum and dad picked us up to drive us to what I seem to remember feeling was the big city, which could be in Perth, which is not a big city, but at the time for me it was. And we got there and we were just going to see Uncle Dennis, but then of course it was Star Wars, and it blew our tiny minds apart, And we had, when you could get VHS, because we couldn't then, I don't think. We did have this film on VHS, and we watched it till it was just vague colours going across the screen. We totally wore it out, you know. We knew every line of it, and we would speak along with the film. And so, to be then, later on in my life, facing the opportunity to play, and it wasn't, you know, there was a few of us, I guess, at first who were being thought about, and we did sort of auditions for the casting director, not for George at the time. And then the closer I got to it, the more I had to think about, you know, is this something that I would want to do? Because for me, I was doing films with Danny Boyle, I made Shallow Grave, I made Train Spotting. I was doing a film called Velvet Goldmine. I was like an indie. I like to think of myself as a sort of indie, urban, grungy sort of actor, you know, and I still do actually. But, so this was something completely different, and I spoke to my uncle, I spoke to Danny Boyle, and I spoke to anyone who I respected to talk to about it, because I thought, maybe it's not, I hadn't been offered it yet, but the closer I got to it, the more and more I just wanted to do it, you know, and the chance to play in Star Wars, but also to play Alec Guinness's role was just an amazing. So when I got there, you know, and I was allowed to go up and read the script, and I read the script in the producer's office, like it was locked away. You know, usually they'd send it to you, and you read it, but not Star Wars. You had to go and read it there, read it there, and then George showed me around the sets, the studio. We were shooting in Leavesden in England, and he showed me all the different departments. And I remember walking through I think it's on film somewhere. There's me getting to see. The props master, Ty, brought out this big box with padlocks on it, you know, and he undid the padlocks and opened it up, and there was about 7 or 8 lightsaber handles in there, and I got to choose Obi-Wan's lightsaber handle, which was like an amazing moment. I think it's probably on YouTube or somewhere, you can find it. But and then we went and we were looking at went through this the department where they're building all the sets and everything, and they were carving the submarine that Liam and Ahmed and I go in, and they were carving it out of this huge block of polystyrene, and it had like a glass dome on it, and I was walking around with George, and I said, George, will we go under? And he went, what? And I went, will we go underwater in it? And he looked at me and he went, it's none of it real, you know. And a small part of me died. And he was right, there was none of it real, sadly. But it was an amazing experience. And being on that set, you know, the first one we shot in, like I say, in England, and that was phenomenal. It was like it was an amazing shoot. It was just amazing. And also, there hadn't been Star Wars for so long, so there was this sort of anticipation and excitement about it all. And then we went to Tunisia. We shot a bit in Tunisia in the desert, which was a great treat to be there. You know, so hot and but beautiful in the desert. And then they went to Italy to shoot some stuff that I wasn't in. And then the second and third movies we made in Australia. We went out to Sydney, Australia, and we shot those there. Yeah, amazing.
So I love you telling us that you got to decide which lightsaber you got to select. What made you decide the one you picked?
I think it was the knobbly bits on the hilt, you know? The sort of sticky out square bits on the...
So you're telling us it wasn't the Force?
It probably could have been the Force, yeah. It was a sort of aesthetic Force, you know?
Do you remember when you first got to put on the costume and wield that lightsaber? How did that feel? Did you feel fully embodied into your character as Obi-Wan when everything was on you and you were on set?
Yeah, I mean, the putting the costume on was never as exciting as it was when I did the series, the television series that we just did.
We just saw series fans here, right?
Yeah, that was time, there was something very emotional about it, because it had been a long time since I'd played him, and I think, you know, it was hard. I've talked about it before. It was difficult at the prequels because at the time we just sort of only heard the critic's voice. You know, we didn't hear your voice then because, as I said, there was no internet. There was no sort of direct connection to the fans, and the films weren't. The films weren't well received at the time, and so when we did them and we heard the critic, you know, I just think a lot of people wanted to feel like they felt when they watched the first films, and they now were adults and they weren't children, which is a huge difference, and B, you know, George always wanted to do something new. He wanted to try and make them, you know, to make them different. There was no point just trying to make the same films again. So he had a different style and a different feeling about them that I guess some people didn't connect with at the time. And so when I finished the third one, there was a sense of sort of like just moving on. I thought, okay, I've done that, I've done the three, and I've loved being in them, but now just like sort of put the blinkers on, and I got on with my career and made lots of other work. I didn't come to conventions like this. I didn't feel like connected to them as such. So but by the time I just wanted to play him again, I sort of started to sense, you know, your voices about them. I started to hear you a little bit about how much you loved them at the time. And so when I went back to not as much as I do now, because I'm here doing these things, and I love them. You know, I love meeting you all and hearing about it. So when I got back there, we did some castings for the kids, the young actors who were in the series, and they wanted me to go down, and I hadn't really. It was quite a few months before we started shooting, so I hadn't really done any preparation for it. And I went down we borrowed a set from The Mandalorian, and because it was a Sunday and they weren't there. And I went into the dressing room, and there was it wasn't I don't think it was my original costume, but it was very like it, and it was or maybe some of it was, I'm not sure. And the boots were the same. They were still a pain in the arse to put on. Straps and Velcro that you don't see and don't want to know about. When I put that on, that was quite a moment, because suddenly it was like stepping back in time, but at the same time, you know, I felt close to it, and I hadn't for 15 years or something, you know. So that was a big moment, putting on the costume. That was a long answer.
I know. We're glad that happened, right? We're glad you put on those boots. We're waiting for that to film. You know, you experienced the evolution of filmmaking from Star Wars with the trilogy and then doing Kenobi. What was the biggest difference when it came to the filming that you saw with the technology, or even the filming techniques and the sets?
We had, you know, we employed this new technology called the volume, and it's a 300-degree screen in a stage, maybe even wider than this. So as opposed to you being in the prequels, we were acting in front of blue screen and green screen a lot of the time. And as they went on, you know, the third film was much more blue screen than the first one was, because George was developing his technology. You know, George is a producer and a director. He's also an inventor and creator of Industrial Light and Magic, and a lot of the visual effects that we enjoy today are because of him, you know. So I think at that point, the technology was developing quick, really fast. Like the second episode we shot on digital cameras, not film. The first one we shot on film, and that was brand new at the time. So by the time we got to the third one, a lot of the backgrounds were generated in post-production. And so as for the acting experience, it was just a lot of us being on blue screen and green screen. And when we got to do the series with Deborah Chow, it was this wrap-around screen where if you're in the desert, you're in the desert, you know, and if you're shooting something in a spaceship, you look out the cockpit window and you see space flying by, you know, and that wasn't the case in the prequels, I can assure you. And it's good. It's so much more exciting for us, the actors. It puts you in the environment that you're trying to create, and it's an easier task in a way. It was amazing. So the technology made the experience very different. Yeah, you had extras that they had like droids and stuff walking around in the distance, you know, and they could just click and drag one over there if they wanted, you know. It was amazing.
The volume is impressive. I can see that being even be fun for camping indoors. They can make that into like a camping ground. Because
Right.
a lot of the sunsets, the stars, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of visiting ILM at Skywalker Ranch last week, and what George Lucas has invented, it's not just the films, it's the technology and everything else. That's really what's mind-blowing that people don't understand is he's a genius and an innovator, and really helping movies come to life in a different way.
That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, let's hear for George Lucas. A lot of questions here you see, and a lot of them were about reuniting with Hayden after all those years. But first, can you talk about the first time you met him, and kind of like your reaction to meeting him, and did you think really that friendship, meeting him would last this long, and you would be working with him again?
Well, I don't know what I don't remember what I thought about that at the time. Probably not very much, because we were about to start the second one in Australia, and I'd heard, obviously knew Hayden, and I knew that he was going to be playing the part, but I'd never met him. I was excited to meet him because I knew that we had this journey to go on as Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker, but also that it would be not just for this movie, but for the next one. You know, that I knew that we'd have two. I didn't know beyond that, and you never know with people, but you know how you're going to click with them or not. But right from the word go, I clicked with him. You know, I felt like
The brotherhood.
yeah, but at the same time, something. You know, I'd already made. By that time I'd been working for 6 or 7 years or something. So I'd done quite a lot of work, and I was self-assured in how I went about it and who I was as an actor, I suppose. And Hayden was 19, I think, and super young and super enthusiastic, and so there was also a sense of you know, the sort of Obi-Wan, Anakin, a paternal feeling towards him, really. Yeah, absolutely, we're like brothers for sure. But at that time, I felt like protective of him or something, or responsibility for him as a young actor. You know, because they're difficult films to make, as I've said, because there's no sets, and so I felt protective of him as well, I think. But I love him like a brother for sure. Yeah.
We love that reunion. People are waiting for that for y'all to reunite, and also to reunite with y'all's lightsabers again and go at it one more time.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing walking on set with him when we did the series, because there were just hundreds of people there suddenly, and I was like, what is this? There's so many people on set today, that's weird. And then Hayden walked out, wherever he went, there was like just 60 or so. They were trying to pretend that they were like not just there to stare at Hayden, but they really were. And everywhere he moved, this group of like 100 people sort of followed him around. Poor guy, he was just trying to come back and but the first thing we did was the flashback scene. So when we came back, you know, we walked on set together we look a little bit older probably in this area, but the costumes and everything, and the hair and the makeup and whatever was from the last time we ever did that, you know. So it was cool, and it was a very special. You just so loved Hayden, and rightly so. He's a brilliant actor, and he's carried the huge weight of playing Vader on his shoulders, and he's amazing. So it's deserved, you know, and it's lovely to see. It's lovely to see him getting the love that he deserves from the fans. It's brilliant.
Yeah, let's hear it for Hayden. Out of all the scenes you've done with Hayden, though, be it the trilogy or the series, do you have a favorite that stands out?
Well, the one moment that stands out to me is sort of a funny moment when we were doing the fight scenes with Hayden were always that's sort of bonded us as well, because right when we first met, we immediately started fighting together. We started learning At that time, it was with a guy called Nick Gillard, was our stunt coordinator, and we started doing fight rehearsals before we did any other kind of rehearsals because we had so much fighting to learn. And that's something that bonds you together because it's really important. You really have to know, you have to be in sync with each other. When we were fighting, you know, in those films, we were using lightsabers that were made of metal. They're not the plastic ones like that I can see here. And so when you got it wrong and hit each other, you really hurt each other, you know. And by the time both of us, they used to laugh at us because by the time we did one take, both of our lightsaber handles blades were totally bent. Like we really went after each other. And there was a guy whose job it was to just rebuild lightsabers at the side of the set. He had like a mobile car. He was just constantly changing the blades on our lightsabers. And that's something about that. You have to be in sync with each other or else you're going to hurt each other. George Lucas in his wisdom decided that in space, in this galaxy, at this time, they don't have a hilt on the sword. And a hilt on the sword stops your knuckles from being wrapped when the blades slide down. So we just got our knuckles wrapped over and over and over again. And you know, we'd hit each other, we're like, oh! And you know, we both destroyed each other's fingers for months. So that bonded us together. But the one thing that springs to mind is we were doing reshoots in London. So we shot the film in Australia, and then some months later, George wanted to pick up some moments that he missed or that he didn't feel were strong enough or whatever, or he wrote new scenes. And we were now in London doing these reshoots, and me and Hayden were doing stuff from the fight on the lava flow at the end. And we were standing on these discs. So there was a hang on, get my cheese out. There was a disc that turned round, and there was a man lying on the floor, a props guy, who was turning us like this. and we're standing surrounded by just green and blue on this disc going round like that. And as we came round, we'd sort and then we'd go round again, and occasionally he would turn us the other way. And it was, to be honest, it was embarrassing. It didn't look very tough or Jedi-like, really. And that morning, somebody said, Robert De Niro's coming in today. We were like, what? Like Robert De Niro was coming to visit the set. I don't know his kid, I don't know why, maybe he knows George, I don't know, but we'd heard this rumor, so we're standing on these things, and it's quite hard to reach each other anyway, because and there's two guys lying. And I'm turning, and Hayden said, did you hear that Robert De Niro's coming in today? And as I went this way, I saw him sitting with George at the monitor, Robert De Niro. And I came around like this, and I went, it's too late, he's here. It was so embarrassing. And I met, years later, I met Robert De Niro and at something he was directing, and I went to speak to him about it. And I told him that story. I was like, so embarrassing. You can't imagine, like, standing in front of one of your heroes and being turned around on a disc. You know, so embarrassing. And he was like, anyway, that's one of my highlight moments with him.
Do you have a favorite costume you got to wear, or is there a costume you're waiting to wear if you get a chance to?
I'd like to wear that Clone Wars. I'd quite like to do that. I think that would be. I've seen a few of you come in for photographs and stuff in it. It's badass, isn't it? It looks good. I'd like that, but I don't know how they would do it because we're just probably too. Oh, sorry. Careful, there's a Sith Lord walking through. Careful. He was trying to sneak by, but I saw him. Yes, see? what was I saying about, what was I saying? Oh, the Clone Wars. So because we did the series, which is later, you know, we'd be going back in time, and I don't know how, we'd have to do something with this face.
George Lucas has already happened with de-aging.
He could probably de-age us, but it'd be expensive. Anyway, it'd be nice to do. And it'd give me and Hayden a chance to do some real good acting together again.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I'd like to do that. And I'd like to do another season of Obi-Wan Kenobi for sure. I hope it's just that they're trying to find a time for it. I don't know. I can't imagine it's because they don't want to do it, because it was very successful. You people liked it a lot, and I like doing it a lot, so it seems like silly for not to do another one, I think.
No, I think they do. I think it's just a stack right now with the scheduling, and so they're just trying to hopefully, maybe. Just tell us when the script comes in.
What's that?
Once the script comes in, you know it's ready to go.
Then we're going to go and do it. Yeah.
A fun question here. You know, you grew up a Star Wars fan, and obviously you're Obi-Wan. But is there a character you always you would swap roles with in the Star Wars universe? You would like to kind of embody or be for a day, if that chance came, or to even voice one in an animated series?
No, not really. I was very happy. I was very lucky to play Obi-Wan. And
did you have a favorite in the movies, a character that stood out to you that you really liked?
Oh yeah, I love them all. I think that was the beauty of what George created, is all the characters were totally relatable, and we knew, you know, they were so clear, weren't they? They're almost like characters from a fairy tale, or if you like, the Obi-Wan's sort of the wizard, and then there's the princess, and then there's the sort of rogue, Han Solo being the rogue. I love them all. I really connected with them all. I still, you know, I've been on set with C-3PO, and I've been on set with R2-D2, and it always blows my mind when they come on. I'm always like 6 years old again. It's amazing. And then in the series, when I got to fight Darth Vader, like I almost, yeah, that was terrifying. I forgot. I didn't consider it. I thought, I've been acting for years. I've done horror films, I've done all sorts of things, but it was only when I looked over my shoulder at Darth Vader coming at me with his lightsaber, I suddenly got this jolt of fear like I didn't expect. I almost had to shout cut. I was like, sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, oh dear.
We don't want to get you in trouble here, but was there any keepsakes you've kept, something from the sets and from the show, from the movies that you just had to have, and it's something that keeps the memory alive when you're not there?
I might have the box with the 2 lightsabers in it that I dig up from the desert.
Oh.
Maybe.
He does not have that. He doesn't.
And other than that, I've got somewhere my lightsaber from episode 1, from the first one that we did. And I don't know, but the truth is I don't know where it is. Because we weren't allowed them. It was totally, I'm really outing myself here, because we weren't allowed to keep them. And the props master had a special one made for me that he gave to me quietly one day. God bless him, Ty. And
that's amazing.
So but it's somewhere. It might be like in storage in London. I don't know. I moved to London a long time ago, and I've never been able to find it. So maybe someone nicked it from my house. It's very possible. Probably somebody stole it. No. I'm sure it's in storage.
It's in safekeeping.
All the storage units in London will be being raided.
No, they're all in Texas. We're here to protect them for you. You've had some amazing on-screen partnerships over the years. You have done so many amazing projects. Is there a particular co-star that brought out something different in your performance that you still think about?
My wife, Mary Elizabeth
yes.
Winstead. We met working on Fargo, and then we did Birds of Prey together, although we didn't have much work to do in that together. And then most recently we did a series called Gentlemen in Moscow, which I'm so proud of. If you haven't seen it, please, it's on Paramount Plus. I don't know, no one has Paramount Plus, but it's...
As of today, everyone can subscribe to it.
Maybe you can do that 3 months trial and just watch it quickly. Unsubscribe. I mean, I'm not suggesting you do that, but... and then you can watch it because it's so lovely. It's a brilliant novel. It was a brilliant novel written by an American novelist in New York City, and it's an absolutely beautiful story. It's not. I think maybe the Russian element put people off it, but it's written in the 1920s. It starts when Russia became sort of the Russia that it is today, and so in that respect, it's an interesting backdrop. And I got to play this. I play a aristocrat who's spared execution by the new party for some reason or another, but he has to live under house arrest in a hotel called the Metropole. And so the story takes place over the next 50 years of his life as he's in this hotel, and it's a beautiful story. And there's an amazing actress, like a fabulous movie star, who comes in and out of the hotel in a very glamorous fashion, played by my wife Mary. And he falls in love with her, but their love story is very interesting, and she cold shoulders him a lot of the time. So that was so funny to play with your own wife. It was just intention. Oh, it was great. So that was a treat. She's my favorite actor.
That's amazing. How does it feel? How does it feel to have a part of now the Star Wars universe and doing these conventions together? I mean, it's really special.
Yeah, no, it's great. You know, it's really great. We're trying to figure out if there's a way to bend the timeline somehow so that we can end up in the same series. But at the moment, I think we belong in different timelines in the Star Wars universe. But who knows? Hayden was in it. I mean,
anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Yeah.
Speaking of co-stars, you got to do a special project with your daughter, Bleeding Love.
Yes.
Can you talk about that, how that came about, and how unique that project was?
Yeah, that was an amazing experience. My daughter and I, she had a story written, sort of loosely based on our experience, I suppose, through a difficult time in our lives together, and approached me with it. I suppose it's difficult not to get too personal about this, but it is a sort of personal film. So it's a story about a young girl who's sort of estranged from her dad, which we were never, but and also dealing with addiction. And her father, she gets put together with her father, who's trying to take her to rehab, and it's a sort of road journey. It's called Bleeding Love. It was originally called You Sing Loud, I Sing Louder, which was a better title. But the people that bought the film just called it Bleeding Love instead because they had no imagination, and didn't think you would like it because it was a slightly difficult title to remember or something. They said, I don't know.
But it's a beautiful film.
It's a beautiful film. Never mind the troubles with the title. It's a beautiful film, and it was very, very beautiful to make with her. I mean, to act with your own daughter in something. I played the dad, and she played the daughter, and it was really incredible. And through it, we a lot of things were healed for the two of us, and it was an amazing experience.
No, that's beautiful. It's an amazing film. Highly recommended.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, of course.
I'm very proud of her as well because she had it written. It was her idea. The storyline was her idea, and she produced it. And it was amazing to watch her when you're watching your own kid sort of hold herself as a professional with the crew. And I was just there to play the role, so I was just the actor. But she was there producing and acting, and I was very, very proud of her, like to how she held herself with the crew and how professional she was. It just filled me with pride, really. And she's also really, really good in it. Like I hadn't, it's a good place to see somebody's acting when you're acting with them. And I was very impressed with her. I was like, oh yeah, okay, she's got the chops, which is great.
No, I love it. It's a great film, highly recommended. We're slowly running out of time, but I know there's much to talk about though. But over a span, there was 3 films that really were awesome and entertaining. Obviously, you had Dr. Sleep. Awesome. I love Christopher Robin, like that movie put me to tears, I'm not gonna lie. I love that film so. And obviously you play the Black Mask, which is awesome. Totally different films, But how is each experience like super exciting to be part of such dynamic worlds and something that's super creative at the same time?
Yeah, no, I've been lucky to work in all of those. Yeah, they were all directed by really interesting people. The Christopher Robin film was really interesting. I remember watching it with all of my kids all my kids are different ages, and so I watched it with Clara and Esther, who were older, in New York, and I watched it with them and sort of saw one film, and then I watched it with my youngest daughter, Anouk, who's 13 now, so she could have been 10 or maybe 9 at the time. And it felt like a completely different film watching it with her, you know. And then, so there was Mark Forrester directed that film, and he made a film that's really, it is a Winnie the Pooh film, but at the same time, it's sort of, there's a darkness to it, and it can play for adults and kids at the same time. I really love it. I'd love to play him again. I'd really love to do a sequel to that film, because I think there's every opportunity for it. You know, the story lends itself to that. There could be another Christopher Robin. I'd like that.
Oh, absolutely. I actually watched that with my mom, and I teared up, and it was such an emotional, powerful film.
Yeah.
My inner child in there. Yeah, I love it. Lovely film.
Nice. And the other one, Black Mass, was fun to do. I really loved. I worked with Chris Messina, was my sort of right-hand man in that, and we had such a laugh. Like we created loads of scenes that didn't make it into the movie. Like we made this funny sequence where they're playing playing hide and seek in the Black Mask's in his apartments, and Chris Messina jumped out and to catch the Black Mask, and he fainted completely away from fright. And they didn't put that in the movie for one reason or another, but it was fun to do that. It was fun. He's a wonderful actor to play against.
Yeah, that was a great performance. We loved that one too. And also, Dr. Sleep, how was it to kind of revisit The Shining? Did you like the original film and the book and everything else in the olive suit?
Yeah, it's interesting, all the history between the movie and the novel, and you know how unhappy the novelist was with the director, and it's sort of all interesting film lore. And then, but I tell you what, walking on those sets, it was as if Jack Nicholson had just walked off for a coffee. You know, it was totally. It felt absolutely like the original. It was amazing to do. Great, and again, great actors to play with. In that.
Yeah, all 3 different films, but really great films that stand out. We love everything that you do. We're always here to support every project you do, big or small.
Thank you so much.
Aren't we excited to have you here in Texas?
Thank you so much.
Y'all got a great crowd. Thank you very much. We were here for joining us.